Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our online class. And the purpose of this video lecture this week is to talk about research, more specifically, how to research information, topic-specific information for the business and company that you are profiling. So you picked a business and a company and/or company at the beginning of the semester. You're kind of profiling and examining, and we're looking at that company. We're going to continue to look at that company from a variety of different perspectives and angles as it relates to the success and outreach of that business and company. But one of the things that we also are going to do as we start moving down through the semester calendar and we start getting towards the research paper assignment towards the end of the semester is we're going to be looking at that company from a variety of different perspectives and looking at the research and the data and the information that is out there on that particular company so that you can begin to get an understanding of your company more in detail, but also understanding more about how your company operates other than what we typically see on the front end or on the surface level as a consumer or someone who engages with that particular company. And so we're going to look at some of the resources available to you through the Williams Library here at Ole Miss and through the databases and some of the search tools and features that exist within the library system and within the databases with the Williams Library. And I'm delighted to welcome Alex Watson, who is one of our librarians here, who is assigned to many of our courses here in the DWR, specifically Writing 101 and 102. And he's going to kind of take you through some information about business tools and search tools and places you can go to find information on the company or business that you've chosen. So a little of this is going to be sort of a refresher of maybe what you had in Writing 101 if you went through a databases exercise or presentation in Writing 101 or EDHE last semester. You'll have a little bit of a review there, but Alex is really going to kind of go more in detail and more in depth on how you can use these search tools and these databases to help you learn more about the company and also help you gather the research information and sourced information that you're going to need to profile that company accurately and completely. So I'm delighted to have Alex here. I appreciate him taking time out of his schedule to do this. So I'm going to disappear off the camera for just a little while and turn it over to him. I would suggest that you take notes on this. You can even open up a web browser and follow him if you want, plugging in your company as he's talking if you want to try that method. Of course, you can always watch this again multiple times if you need to, but my recommendation would be engage with this presentation as it connects to you and as you see fit, and make sure that this presentation is helping you with the needs that you have at this point in the process with regards to researching your company. So with all of that said, I'm going to disappear here and I'm going to turn it over to Alex. Alex, thanks so much for doing this for us. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. All right, we are going to go ahead and start with the University of Mississippi Libraries site right here. This is libraries.olemiss.edu. You may have seen it already, as Elliot said, if you've been through one of our EDHE 105 or Writing 101 classes, but it's important to note that this site is where you must go in order to access anything that the University of Mississippi Libraries pays for. We pay for a large number of databases for you to access and use in your research. A lot of databases and information are available thanks to a very small amount of your tuition. But the flip side of that is that you need to start with this site in order to access it because as we may see, every now and then you may be asked to log in with your Ole Miss username and password. And this site is the only site that's smart enough to be able to do that. If you try and go to any of these entities directly, they won't know to log you in with your Ole Miss username and password. They won't know that you're a student, and they might even ask you for money. So just keep in mind that you'll want to start here if you want to take advantage of the prepayment that the library has already done for you. Now, one thing that I do want to highlight before we get started is the library's chat feature. You can see it right here. When I hover over this nub, it will pop out into a nice little chat window. If chat is not available, you will have a link to the library's frequently asked questions instead. Whenever the chat is online, you can use it to ask us a question. and then the librarian will be able to send us an answer. There we go. All right. So we've gotten a extremely important piece of information from our librarian here. We now know that their favorite color is red. But you can also use this for any questions that you might have. You can ask for research help. You can give them your topic, and they can help you out. They can also give you assistance if things don't seem to be working right. Any question from where's the bathroom in the library on up to doing serious research, we can help. As long as the question is within the bounds of good taste and the Creed, we're happy to help you out with that. For those of you who are on devices that don't properly show this nub, you can also access it using Ask a Librarian down here. This will give you access to our frequently asked questions as well. You can view a list of librarians if you're interested in speaking to one of us directly. And then there's a chat box here that doesn't move. It's also extremely thick if you prefer your chat boxes to be nice and thick. And you can see that the chat automatically moves between them. There's also some other information down here as well. You can use this email address to ask us a question after hours. And you can use this telephone number as well. Between the two of those, you should be able to get a hold of somebody anytime the library is open. As you can see here, our chat hours most days are 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. We close a little earlier on Friday at 1 p.m. And you can also find the Starbucks hours down here as well. We know why you're in the library. So what we're going to do to start off with is look at OneSearch. You can see some of the previous searches that I've done coming up there. One of the great things about OneSearch is that it is what we like to call a meta-search tool. The library subscribes to a large number of databases, and while you can go in and search each of those databases individually, OneSearch will take your search and send it out to many databases at the same time and pull those results together for you into a single list and a single interface. This is nice because it means you have a large number of sources at your fingertips. It can be really good if you're still trying to decide on a source or a topic even. The flip side is that you may have some sources come up that are not as relevant because they're in a different subject area. You're searching for business information, you may find something coming up from the humanities, or you may find something that is from STEM, math. We'll see in a little bit how you can look at some subject-specific databases to sort of cut down on this. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is you'll want to think about the search terms, or keywords as we call them, that you enter for your search. Now, obviously, one of the terms that you're going to be using is going to be the name of your company. For instance, we can look for Amazon. Now, if you just do a search for Amazon, you will quickly note that we have, first of all, a large number of results, but second of all, you can see that these are not the type of results that we are interested in. We have to go all the way down to the third one to find somebody talking about something that isn't the Amazon rainforest. And in this case, it's a user guide to Amazon Web Services, which is something that you probably won't need to know about unless you are in computer science. Especially if your company has a very common name, this can be a problem. So one of the things that we can do is think about some words that we can add to our search, some keywords that will bring us only Amazon, the retailer, and leave out Amazon, the rainforest. Now, time was you could do Amazon.com, but that's not actually their name anymore. So one of the things you can do is throw in the type of product that they sell or the type of service that they offer. So Amazon offers you shopping. adding a keyword there, now we see we've got far fewer results, but we also have things that are more relevant. We could also look for something more specific. Although it looks like some of those are still sneaking in the Amazon rainforest. Now, one of the things that I find is the most useful when you're trying to do this type of research is to look for points of conflict, to see things people are saying about companies, rightly or wrongly, that have some controversy or some things to argue about. So we can look for words like controversy or ethics or labor relations or unions, any type of thing that might cause friction between a business and its customers or a business and its employees is often a good idea. You can also look for things like environmental practices, although in the case of Amazon, you definitely need to add another word like shopping, as we saw before, in order to make sure that you're not looking at ecological damage to the Amazon rainforest. That's not to say that Amazon.com isn't doing ecological damage to the Amazon rainforest. Those cardboard boxes come from somewhere, but that's not necessarily what we're interested in right now. So, for example, if I look for people attempting to unionize at Amazon, you can see that I have 12,000 results. And the other thing that you can see here is we have a lot of different things coming up. We have newspapers, we have journal articles. There's a whole bunch of things that are kind of mashed together here. And this is where the search refinements come in handy. So if we wanted to persist with this search, for instance, there are a few things that we could do in order to make sure we get the types of things we're interested in. We can limit ourselves to full text. We can limit ourselves to peer-reviewed sources. And we can limit ourselves to journal articles. Okay. And here we can see an article that looks interesting. Crushing unions by any means necessary, how Amazon's blistering anti-union campaign won in Bessemer, Alabama. Oh, not too far from here. So first of all, I'll go ahead and put this in my temporary items folder. You'll see what that means in just a second. And now we can go and take a look at this article. Clicking on its title is usually enough. You can also use one of these links down here if that fails. And you can see here that we have the complete article available to us. We also have the ability to look at it as a PDF. This is normally what I suggest that people do. And you'll see why here. We'll just wait for the animated coffee cup to load up. There we go. And you'll see here that we not only have information about the publication itself, but we have it in its original format. It's all nicely spaced. You can see that we have our headings showing up. There's lots of good formatting. And we also have our citations here. So one of the really nice things about looking for these articles that are peer-reviewed, full-text journal articles is that they give you a list of their sources. In this case, it looks like they are mostly citing web sources. But that means that if you want, you can actually click on any of these and it will take you right out. So you can see, here's the Vice article that this person was citing. You gotta love those angry Amazon boxes. Now, that may not always be the case. So one of the things that you can try looking for is copying the title of one of these articles and then putting it back in. Now, I'll have to turn off my search results here. There we go. So you can see we have that as well. Now, let me show you a slightly different search. Let's say that you were interested in looking at the issue that we've discovered, Amazon and unions, but you wanted to use some additional terms that had come up. Well, anti-union was something that we saw in one of those articles. And if we go back in, look at full text, peer-reviewed journal articles, you can see we have another one coming up here. First of all, talking about another company that you could use. But also, note that it doesn't have Amazon in its title, which is interesting. When we actually go in here, you can see that they are mentioning it. I'll go ahead and put that in. You could also try broadening this out. Now, this may bring back some things about labor in the Amazon rainforest. But, oh, no, it looks like we've actually got some good stuff. So this one is talking about the mechanisms of labor control. Very useful if you want to bust a union. Looking at power dynamics, both in Germany and the United States. That could be interesting to compare the two. Maybe the Germans are doing it better. Maybe the Germans are doing it worse. Labor organizing at choke points on the supply chain. Interesting stuff. So notice that even though this isn't saying union, labor organizing is a term that they're using instead, we're getting some really good information. So maybe labor organizing is a better term to use than union. That's not the type of thing that is self-evident. That's not the type of thing that you or I would naturally think of. But doing a search like this, trying out some different keywords can show you the terms that the scholars in the field are using and allow you to piggyback on that. So if we want to change that to organized labor, you can see we're getting some very, very different stuff. All good. We found some fantastic articles so far, but you will have noticed that some of them appear in one of the searches and not in another. This is why it's important to try out different keywords, different combinations of keywords, and to keep an eye out in your search results for other things that you can include in your search. And we could go still further. We could even broaden it out to something like ethics, or ethics is always a good one to throw in when you're researching a corporation. That will almost always bring up something that is worth discussing. Or controversy is another good one. Almost all corporations have had some type of controversy over the years. So you can use that to identify interesting things to talk about. If there's a company that you're interested in, but you're not sure what people are discussing, doing a search for its ethics and its controversies will give you something that you can write about. Whether you believe that the ethical questions and the controversies are warranted or not. That's still something that can be very valuable to you in your research. Remember, if you're making an argument, you can argue for something and you can argue against something. Now, as we've seen, I've been entering items into our saved items folder. If I want to, I can generate a permanent link or a citation or email any of these to myself individually. What I prefer to do is find interesting articles on a particular topic, use this to put them into my folder, and then looking at them like so. And again, as we saw earlier, since these are scholarly peer-reviewed articles, all of them are going to have a list of sources. This means that you can also take those sources, put them back into the search, find them, and use them. Take advantage of the work that these professional researchers have already done. Now, if you want to get ready to incorporate these into your research, there's a nifty shortcut you can use here. We will set this to, I'll say, MLA, like so. If you find yourself using a different style, you'll see that just about every style is in here. There's APA, there's even Chicago, but it organizes these into some nice citations here. In fact, you can see that these two were written by the same person. Interesting. Now, it's important to note that these are generated automatically, so they may have some mistakes. It's important to double check them. That being said, double checking the citations is certainly a lot easier than generating them by hand. And each of them will have a link to the full text of your article. So you can then send this off in the form of an email. And that email will include any citations that you've generated, as well as any links to the full text of those items. I'll go ahead and send this to myself. You must include a message. The email will not send properly if you don't. So be sure that you type something here. You also have to prove that you're not a robot. If it believes that you're not a robot, everything will be fine. If it doesn't believe that you are a robot, you will have to do a CAPTCHA. Luckily, it believes that I'm a robot, or I'm not a robot, and I won't have to worry about being retired by a Blade Runner. All right. So that's a quick overview of some of the search tips that I think will serve you well in this assignment. Looking for not only the name of your corporation, but including some other keywords, both to make sure that things with a similar name, like the Amazon rainforest, are not included by accident, and also to find information on things about a corporation that are arguable. It's difficult to say, I argue that this corporation should not exist, although I suppose you could. It's much easier to say this corporation is doing X and it shouldn't be doing that. Or this corporation is under fire for doing X, but they're doing nothing wrong and people should just chill. Both of those are things that are highly researchable and highly arguable. And that is a quick overview of using OneSearch. Elliot, is there anything that you would like to add before we move on?
No, I think that's great, Alex. I think you've done a great job there. Appreciate that.
All right, fantastic. So it's important to note, too, that your folder will expire eventually. The exact timing is going to depend on your cookie settings. So if you have anything in your folder, make sure to email it to yourself when you're done. We can use the library's logo to return to the home page. And what I'd like to do now is show you a couple of additional resources that we have available. They're going to be here under our research guides. And what I'm going to do here is show you two types of guides. First of all, we're going to look at the course guide that was designed specifically for courses like this. Then I'm going to show you an additional guide that you may find useful for your company specifically. So looking at course guides over here in the upper left, you can see that this gives us a list of courses that we have created guides for. And the one that we're looking for here is Writing 102. It takes you to this basic landing page. You can see our chat history is still taken along, and it allows you to select your theme. We'll select business, and this gives us a list of additional places that we can look. Now, I said earlier that searching within OneSearch sometimes returned information that was outside of the scope of what you were looking for. That was on a different subject. Using one of these databases can help in that way. For instance, if we look at Business Source Complete, which is a business-only database, you can see we have a large number of articles, and we don't have anyone seemingly talking about the Amazon rainforest. And if I use similar search refinements to what we saw in OneSearch, you can see I can limit this to full text. And let's see, academic journals, peer-reviewed. There's one that we saw earlier, but we can also see some other articles that we had not seen in our searches before, including this very interesting one about the Teamsters. The flip side is that if something is related to your subject but is not, strictly speaking, a business source, it won't show up in Business Source Complete. That's the two sides of the coin there. You can do a broader search with a higher probability of finding something that is not on your topic, or you can do a narrower search with a higher probability of accidentally excluding something that might be relevant. My suggestion, try them both. Now, there are a number of other things in here that can be useful to you. You can look for specific topics and issues that might mention a corporation in CQ Researcher. We have a large number of newspapers in Nexus and Newspaper Source if you're interested in finding some news articles. One of the ones that I will often recommend to people is Statista. Statista is a statistical database that pulls statistical information out of a variety of government and private reports. In fact, you can see some of the corporations that they deal with down here. And in fact, you can see that this has two topic reports based on Amazon. One is statistics and facts, and the other one is about Amazon Prime. So if we look at the company as a whole, we can have a look at some of its various and sundry charts. In this case, you can see the annual net sales revenue of Amazon from 2006 to 2023 by segment. Blue is North America. The, I suppose, navy blue is international. And then this gray is Oz, or Amazon Web Services, the same thing that we saw earlier in the form of a how-to book. That would be their web hosting. Interesting to see how those three things come together. And you can see that it is actually sourced from the Amazon.com annual report. In fact, if you want to read the annual report, you can click on this link. One of the nice things about these, oh, look at that. It's even available in French. So if you want to read this in French, you certainly can. Or we can click on this weird hybrid Brit American flag to change back. You also have the ability to generate a citation for these statistics. You can see we can generate an MLA style citation here. So it's often a good idea to find a topic if you can. Many large corporations will have a topic. Now, if you are not interested in finding a topic, or if your company doesn't have a specific area within Statista, you can do a search for the general area that they're in. For instance, if you were looking for non-alcoholic beverages and soft drinks, you could find, oh, interesting. I wouldn't have thought that PepsiCo was slightly higher than the Coca-Cola company in 2021 in terms of launching new products. Maybe it's because they're throwing more stuff at the wall to see what sticks. I've never even heard of some of these people. Oh, look at that! There's Starbucks. Anyway, looking at the field or market that your company is involved with can also bring you some really good information and statistics. Now, these statistics don't constitute an argument in and of themselves. They're more like information that you could use to assert an argument or perhaps get an idea for an argument, but they can still be super useful. And I highly recommend coming and looking for either your company or your market or both here in Statista. Just don't make the mistake of having a citation list that is 100% Statista. That's something that people tend to look frowningly upon. We should use Statista sparingly. And there are other things on this page as well that could be very useful. Now, one of the other things that I want to highlight to you is that here on the guide, we have company information sources. These allow you to get information about a particular company from the source, or at least from as good of a source as we have. Your two options are Mergent and Privco, and those are for the two different types of companies that you're likely to see. Mergent is for publicly traded companies, companies that are on the stock market. Privco, as the name suggests, is for privately held companies, companies that are wholly owned by a person or a few people, and therefore are not public, don't trade in shares, and have much less obligation to reveal information. Generally speaking, you're going to find more stuff, more information available on your public companies because they tend to be your larger companies. But a lot of companies are private, and companies do sometimes switch between public and private. Dell Computer would be a good example of that. They were private, they went public, then they went private again. If you're not sure whether your company is publicly or privately traded, well, I guess it's not privately traded, but whether it's public or private, that's usually easy enough to find out through just a simple web search, or you can just check them both. So if we're interested in Amazon, I guess it still is Amazon.com Incorporated. That's technically its name. Interesting. So you can see its key executives. There's the Bezos. That is definitely not his his salary in terms of all of the benefits and stock options and what have you. But this is what is officially reported. So you can see the various people that are in charge. If you'd like to get more information on them, you can click on their name and it will give you a little bio. There's the Bezos, Lex Luthor himself. But you can see it has a stock price, some key historical dates. As you can see that it was incorporated first in 94, then reincorporated in Delaware, which has more corporations than people, in 1996. 1998 is when I first heard about it. And they've got little bits and bobs all the way through. Oh boy, that was a chunky one there. All the way through to 2023. You can also see its subsidiaries, like so. There's Amazon Web Services again, and lots of other things. Now, including the company reports. These are the reports that that Merchant itself puts out. And you can even see some of its competitors if you're curious about that. Some of this information is probably going to be a little bit too detail-oriented for a project of this scope. It's something that would be more useful in writing business cases or doing a SWOT analysis in a business class, but it can still be very useful for getting some of your more basic information. And there's a ton of it here. And I'm learning stuff. I didn't realize that it had been reincorporated in 1996. I've only ever seen the 1996 date. Now, here's Privco. I don't know the name of a private company off the top of my head. You can see that they have a number of them here. And if we want to just click on any of them, it will give us the information that it has. How many years ago it was founded, funding rounds that it's gone through, trying to raise money from venture capitalists, its funding and evaluation if they have any, its descriptions, and some other types of things there. So if it turns out that you're interested in a private company, or if you try to find something within Merchant and it doesn't appear, you can come here to Privco. The information that they offer is not as comprehensive because these private companies are under no obligation to release that information publicly. But in many cases, they can scrape together at least some information that you can find and it will be useful. All right, that is just a quick overview of some of our guides for this particular class. Now, if you want to, if we go back to our library guides, we do have our business guides. And there's a whole guide here with information on companies and industries, if you want to go a little bit further into the weeds. You'll see that some of the things that we were looking at here, including Merchant, Privco, and Statista, are also available. This page also has information on our business librarian. If you find yourself needing or wanting more in-depth business information, you can always reach out to the business librarian. I am able to help with most business style research at this level, but if you are interested in learning more, or if you're interested in becoming a power user for one of those products that I've shown you, it's definitely worth reaching out to the business librarian as well. Okay, Elliot, is there anything that I have neglected to mention that you think I should bring up here at the end?
No, I think that was great, Alex. I appreciate that, and I appreciate your time and your efforts in walking us through those various databases. So I just would remind you folks again to watch this again if you did not follow along and maybe use your company in some of the examples that Alex was using. You may want to go back and do that. Kind of use his video, follow along, put in the information for the company that you've researched or that you are researching and see what kind of search results you get. That may be a good idea to do that. Or if you took notes as he was talking, maybe go back and review those notes and then apply that in research on the company that you've selected. But also, I want to emphasize is what Alex has emphasized to you there towards the end, which is, please reach out to us if you have any questions, if you're looking at some information or trying to find some information, or you're stuck and you don't really know where to go next, please let me know. Please reach out to Alex. And he also gave you some contact information for Ashley Dees, who is also the business librarian here at Ole Miss, and she handles a lot of business related topics and issues. And I know several of you that are in our class, enrolled in our class this semester, are actually business majors. So if you don't get to know Ashley some this semester, you'll be getting in touch with her quite a bit next year as you progress through your program of study. So don't suffer in silence. Let us know if you have questions or concerns to the research process, and we're here to help and help you find the information that you need for the research projects, the smaller research projects we're working on now, leading up to the big research paper by the end of the semester. So Alex, thanks again. Thanks so much for your time and your effort. And folks, please let us know if you have any questions, and we'll talk to you again soon.